usually an object. So the constructor of that object, for example, is links back to the object prototype. And we have to be fast, of course, because that's the entire point of having that at all. So like I said, the serializer produces a snapshot at build time, and the deserializer is essentially just a bytecode interpreter that takes the snapshot data and produces the context from that. We also need to do something more on the Blink side to actually set up the iframe or the main browsing context.
Yeah. So before using a snapshot, let me introduce what we should do to set up a environment in Blink process. So simply speaking, we have to prepare function templates and embed about 1,000 properties on a global object. And also, if the frame has a document or some other HTML nodes, they have to have a wrapper object that is the object related to the Blink object. So we have to set up those things, and the design like this, and we have to set the name in B side, from B side, and we have to embed the function pointers to call back what we should do with the from the Blink object. We have some other information to embed the setting up.
So yeah, so the idea would be why not just put all of that as part of the V8 snapshot as well? I mean, setting up everything is mostly mechanical and it reproduces. So yeah, our idea was just to put everything of that into the V8 snapshot and yeah, speed up performance this way. So in order to get that, we have to actually make a lot of changes in V8. We introduced a new V8 API to create to be able to add modified context to the snapshot. We added the ability to actually have several different context snapshots on the same islet, because as you have seen, iframes and the main browsing context, they actually look different. They have different objects set up. And we also use V8, for example, in PDFium or in the proxy resolver. And those have yet another context setup. So we actually have different context snapshots in the same snapshot blob. And then, of course, Blink has different C++ bindings that we also have to be able to serialize. So we added a new way to register those bindings from Blink to V8 so that the V8 serializer can recognize them. And we have added the ability to serialize and deserialize function and object templates as single objects that you can sort of directly extract from the snapshot. And we added the ability to handle external strings, which are strings with a backing store in Blink, but accessible directly in V8. That, for example, wasn't feasible before in V8 snapshot. And we also have like data in V8, like objects in V8 that reference data directly on the C++ heap. So in order to serialize those, V8 doesn't really know how to read those data. So instead, we just introduce a new callback that calls into Blink to ask Blink to serialize it for us. And then we don't have to do this weird thing with creating global object from template anymore, because the entire global object we need is already there in the snapshot. And then there are a bunch of assumptions that we have to fix in order to get there.
So the Blink side, simply speaking, we have to work for the new features in base side. They we have to list all of required pointers to for external references, and they actually, yeah. And then we deliver all the snapshot, a unique snapshot to all the users. So we have to install runtime enabled features uh, at the after creating the context. And this is the performance test without uh, using without the snapshot. The first one is created setting up local window proxy initialize that function set up all the VH environment, and it takes about 20 milliseconds. Oh, that is yes, it's done on Android. And using the snapshot feature, the time will be 8 milliseconds. That is about 0.5 times faster. And it's covered on the context creation. I mean the blue box uh, that works in 3 times faster. And the robot to graph show the time for iframe, not the mainframe. And they also speed up about 3 times faster for the configuration, and the whole task are speed up about 2.6 times. Okay. Well, but that result was measured with a simplified performance test that creates 100 iframes. Uh, so we are interested in how it works in real usage. So we already released the feature for some part of users, and we take some user metrics from Mac users, unfortunately only for Mac users. This is the result from, oops, no. This is the result from the user metrics, I mean the real usage. So in this case, context creation speed up about 2 times or so, and the red box shows other tasks not related to the context snapshot, and we have to speed up those part at the future work. Yeah, this feature will be available on from 63. So we look forward to the version, or we can use with this monoline option. Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Red box
So when you're storing pointers to the functions, the callback functions that are implemented in Blink, those are, I assume, like raw C style pointers. Do you know if are these pointers relocatable in some way, or does this basically not work if ASLR is enabled or something like that?
So generally, we assume that they can be relocated. Within V8, we have the same problem, and we are not actually only looking for function pointers. We also have like addresses of certain like data on the heap, and we just generally assume that they are relocatable between serialization and deserialization. So when we serialize, we expect Blink to give us a list of those addresses that we have to recognize. And when we deserialize, we expect Blink to give us the same list, but then relocate it.
So can you do the same optimization on extension contexts?
I would assume yes. Well, it depends on whether creating that extension context is really reproducible. Like if it looks the same way every single time that you load, yes, definitely you can. But so the thing is, currently this is done at build time. So when you build Chrome, this is just one build step, and then we ship the binary, the snapshot binary with Blink, with Chrome. If the extension is sort of user-defined, then it has to be created at runtime, right? And currently, I don't think we have the infrastructure to do that. And I mean, it's doable, but yeah, it's just plumbing. Any more questions? Okay, I guess we're done.